So welcome back to our JavaScript course. So in this video, we are going to start working on the expense, how to add the expense in the expense tracker. In the last video, we did learn about artists and we've learned a lot about artists. So now let's quickly start working on the expense tracker. So what I'm going to cover here is, let's say for instance, if the user click on the expense and maybe he types something, let's say transport, and maybe he enters the amount, let's say 40,000. So once he click on this add button, then the whatever thing that he types is going to be added inside the expense list. So now let's start now here. So the first thing we're going to do inside our index.html, inside the inside the app.php or app.html. So now, so let's try to, so here is the nav section. We're done with the nav section. So the app area here. So we are going to start working on within the form here. So the first thing we're going to do, the input for the expense and the amount and the add. So we're going to add an ID attribute to them. So for the first one, let's say ID, and we're going to give it a value of expense item. That's the ID. Then for the second one, for the second input, let's say ID. Then we're going to call it expense price. And lastly, for the button, add button, add the ID, then we're going to call it expense add. Okay, so now let's save it. So now this is what we have here now. So if we go to our browser refresh, we're not going to see any effect here. So now let's just quickly write a script and see whether our link is going to work between the app.html and the main.js file. So now let's go back to our main.js. So let me close this so that I do not take up much of our space here. So now since we are going to work with the script.js, not the main.js, okay? Because the script.js contains the main scripting for the expense tracker app, whereas the main.js is just for learning purpose. So let me just scroll down here. So the source code up is for the toggle button. So now let's create it now for the expense form. So I'm going to give it a comment. So whatever thing I'm going to be writing below is going to the script for the expense. Okay. So now let's start here now. So let's say now let expense item. So I'm going to use camel casing. Item is equals to document dot get element by ID, then the value that we assign it to, which is expense item. Okay. So now we have stored the value inside this variable expense item. And now let's try to play and test and see whether it is set. So then let's say if expense item. So if this is set, so let's try to clear add an event listener for key up as user is typing, and we're going to echo something out. So now let's attach the event listener to the variable expense item. I'm going to say that add event listener. Then we have learned about the event listener, so you can refer to the videos and on the event listener and learn more about it here. So I want to add an event to it, the key up. Here's a key up. So once the user clicks on the key up, so it's going to be a function here. So I'm going to create the block of code here. So now let's just quickly do an alert here. So I'm going to say alert, then we're going to say expense item dot value. So whatever thing that the user typed, then we just want to get the value. As the user is typing, then we'll be printing out the value. So now let's save it. So let's go back to the browser and refresh to see whether everything is working. So Control Alt refresh. So now let's see now. Let's click on it here. So let's start typing. Let's say transport. So you see, as we just write T, you see we have an alert here. So definitely you see our link is working. So perfect here. So in the next video, we're going to continue working on that because we intend to make the video very short. So in the next video, we're going to continue. So to meet in the next video.